This is the May 23rd, 2018 Sustainability Board regular meeting.
All right, this is the May 23rd Sustainability Board meeting at the City of Satellite Beach. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, how's everybody doing?
Well,
Enjoying the sunshine?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it was a little nice, although it was hot. I was kind of liking the cloudy weather now.
We're getting used to it.
Yeah, I was painting my house today, so.
Oh, used to the sunshine.
Yeah, that 2-day window, man. Tried to get as much done as I possibly could.
Come back in 2 days. or whatever.
I know. So
The rain?
I'll get one side done.
Just in time for the weekend?
Yeah, that's what the weatherman said. Have a happy weekend.
All right, we're going to start off with public comment. Do we have any public comment? All right, just come to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Ron Heinbaugh. I live off of Jackson Street behind the post office, and my family's been participating in the community garden.
Nice.
Sorry, I remember to breathe. I get nervous talking to people, but we've been doing the community garden this past year, and I found out a couple months ago from Nick that we were going to have to rotate out. And I guess we just kind of assumed this was something we could do on an ongoing basis. So I was talking to Nick about if there was any opportunity to expand the garden. It seems like there's more space out there. And, I appreciate the fact that we want more people to have the opportunity, but if there's something that could be done to expand it, I would be willing to purchase the material for another raised bed or even two. And I'd also offer the labor to build it. And I think some of the other people that are gardening now would also like to do that. So just wanted to throw that out there for the board and, see if you guys could come up with some way that we can expand the garden and continue to, meet the demand for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
If you don't mind, I'll comment on this.
Sure.
Yes, I spoke with Ron and a number of other community garden members, and basically a lot of people are interested in continuing to garden. However, being that we have such an interest in the garden, it wouldn't be fair to exclude people just because they wanted the first draft pick, so to speak. So what I came up with Ron and a few other people is that with the assistance of paying for the cost of the bed and helping to construct a bed, they would then donate it to the city. They would get the bed for 3 years. That would cover the cost, equivalent to renting it for 2 and then getting that third year at a discount.
Yeah.
And then that would then go into circulation with the rest of the beds. And if Ron wants to build 2, I feel we should give him 6 years. We should give him 3 years for each bed. And then another lady came in this morning and she agreed to the same 3-year period of ownership, and then it becomes part of the garden. And that's very sustainable for us. Because then those beds go into the cycle, and we have enough room approximately for about, I'd say, at least 10 more before I have to kind of reassess without getting too crowded. So I think if we kind of limit it to, maybe allowing for people to buy 2 as long as they donate the second one, kind of a situation, that might be great as long as the board would agree to that adjustment to the garden plan. Simply because I guess I didn't think about the future of the gardening and how that would turn over.
So there's that much interest where people...
Yeah, we got full interest for next year.
Wow,
And I
that's
think
great.
what we'll do then on year 3 is probably transition to a raffle. That way we're not like responsible for picking favorites or, Joe and Joni and Judith and Jill were all wanting to do something but they're out of town. And Jack got in there because he just happened to be there that day. So we'll just raffle it up online, keep it on the website so that it's free to go.
Okay.
I like the idea. I mean, originally we always planned on phase 2 having 10 more beds anyway. So if there's a way to expedite that process, especially if there's demand for it in the community, I think that's great. Maybe, I wonder if it would be possible for us to put like a call out to go ahead and fund the, 7 remaining beds?
Yeah.
And just get it all done at once, ahead of schedule.
I imagine Big Liotti would want to do it if he was here.
But it sounds like if there's interest, we could do this at no cost to the
At
city.
no cost to the city, I think would be the way to do it.
That's going to be pretty priority.
Are people guarded? Are there still,
Oh, yeah, I think all.
Vegetables there now?
Full.
I guess, well, with the weather we've been having, everything's probably been doing
Got
great.
tomato and kale going like gangbusters on my block. so.
Wow.
Sidewalk today, looks nice.
We go up to plot number one at a time.
This would be a Champaign problem. What if we have more than 10 people who want beds, if we publicize it? How we
I think in
decide?
this case, it'll be first come, first served, and we'll advertise it, they'll get it for the 3 years, and then they can go into the raffle. And this is when we'll announce that, all beds will then be part of the raffle.
How should we advertise? Just on,
Do a Facebook video with Dylan, if he's not game for it. Yep.
And beach.
Beach Castle as well.
Your
Yeah.
Facebook
Facebook,
website,
everything.
city website,
okay.
do it on YouTube.
How far west does the community garden actually go?
So the biggest western restriction is the tree line,
Okay,
and then the southern restriction would be, it's kind of a corridor for the public works trucks and things of that nature, to kind of move in and out. When we did the planting on the soda, we had to drop the plants off at the shade house, and we actually got I don't know how big that truck was, but I'd almost say it was a semi-size.
A mini semi-truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. We managed to get it back in there, and having a lane open is really important, so we won't encroach on that lane. But there's the original S pattern that will change, which is unfortunate because I like the S pattern, but we have that on video, so we'll move on to phase 2.
neat.
Nick, I have a quick question. So we do have plans still to do kind of like a mural around that wall for
Yeah.
community events. Do we have any plans to expand on going north at all?
So, I'll cover this a little more in my staff report,
Okay.
if you want to wait.
Yep, yeah, let's wait.
Okay, we'll put that.
Okay. So do we need a motion for that, or just, we're all in
No,
agreement?
we'll just get going on it.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, sounds good.
thanks.
All right. Yeah, thanks for, offering to do that.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see the garden is flourishing. Now we just need to fix the, rain barrels.
Irrigation.
Yeah, I got public works request on that, so don't worry about it.
Oh, really? Well, once they get the, well, we'll talk about it during your stuff. Okay, staff update. There you go.
All right, well, I'll start at the top of the list, and we'll go down the list, and then I'll add on answer any other questions. So upcoming important dates, number 1, we have the next workshop, which will be here in this room, for community involvement and stewardship opportunities. That'll be May 31st, this month, at 7 p.m. I'd like to thank Jassy for attending our last workshop, it was here,
Awesome.
which was great. It's up on the web, it's not on the website.
You're talking about the fourth one?
Yeah,
The fourth one's not up yet.
it's not,
It's only, third one's up.
Third
Fourth one is not up.
It was on, I showed it to my Facebook page the other day.
They're talking about the third one.
No, it's the fourth one, the sea turtle nesting.
Sea turtles.
Right.
Ethereal nesting is not up, is it?
I thought you put it up already, like immediately.
It was, no, it wasn't immediate. I was looking for it for like a week, but I shared it a few days ago.
Okay, I have to verify that.
Or I had a really vivid dream about it.
Either way, that'll go
I have to
up.
verify that I put that up. I may have put it up, I don't know.
But then
I've
the
got
next
so
one
many
will be on
videos.
the 31st at 7 p.m., community involvement and stewardship opportunities. The main highlight of that one is all the different clubs in the city, different ways to be involved, the boards, as well as planting opportunities along with the DeSoto project and other future projects. The summer camp that I'll have with the kids and things like that.
7 p.m., sorry?
7 p.m., this room.
That sounds like a good one.
That one should be fun.
Yeah.
What was the date?
May 31st. And then that'll lead into the June 16th planting, which MRC and KBB have agreed to help with volunteer outreach, which is nice. I think we might actually get a couple of additional mangroves from the MRC, which will be nice. And we'll be planting the ponds along Jamaica DeSoto by the library there, the 2 ponds, the additional pond areas, to try to reduce the amount of runoff into them and also buffer their shorelines with more vegetation to allow for just more nutrient retention from the ponds before we have to do anything, more drastic, like add carp to them to reduce invasives or something like that. I want to go ahead with phase 1, which is the vegetation. And then maybe if FCBC approves it, we can look at using a native species of grass that's freshwater tolerant. They can go into those ponds and kind of help finish out the whole vegetation of that pond to make it as functional as possible. Because right now there's some invasives in there, and the only way to get the invasives out is through either treatment, carp, or native we might see something coming down the line, we'll complement that project later, but that'll be for a future staff report.
Yeah, quick question.
Yeah.
Are any of the mangroves that we moved into the shade house going to be planted? Or is that for a separate
The mangroves in
project?
the shade house will be traded to UCF
Okay,
for larger red mangroves. So UCF
Okay.
doesn't have enough black mangroves.
okay.
I propagated a couple hundred, with the
Yeah.
help of my mom, a couple hundred black mangroves
Yep.
that will then be traded for
Okay.
larger red ones. So
Yeah,
we
I
made
was
a really big return on our
Yeah,
investment.
no,
which was-
I was just curious what the goal was with those mangroves that we got already in the
Yeah,
shade
the
house.
red ones, I don't know, we might donate them to the MRC or something like that, just to kind of say thanks.
Yep. Okay.
Or to anyone that needs them. We
So-
make them available and we can sell them to people, maybe, I don't know, think about that.
How's the bioswale doing? What about weeds growing in it?
The only thing that's coming back is St. Augustine.
St.
And we
Augustine?
worked really hard at like cutting it out and tarping it down, but the root structures in there are ancient.
You sure it's St. Augustine and not torpedo grass?
It's not growing like torpedo.
Really?
And the leaf structure isn't right, it looks more like St. Augustine.
That's the only thing that worries me about that bioswale is if we get
Right.
tons of weeds in there.
Well, I was
Next
thinking
thing-
to get maybe some straw and doing like a pine needle, maybe some like a, some kind of.
So I was actually just at Ken Litterman's house, and he's got his native garden going. He's actually using hay right now.
Hay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
I was
killing all
thinking
of
hay
that.
would be good, because I don't want to do mulch, because mulch will float and clog like the back of the box and, the rest of the exfiltration system, but hay doesn't float. So I'll talk to Ken about that. I have some money in the budget that I can use for stuff like that.
Okay.
But I was gonna kind of wait till everything was done to see how much I totally needed, but since it's done, that portion pretty much, we could probably go ahead and,
So on the next one, are you going to be excavating?
yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
there's gonna be some serious excavation in June.
So if there's still weeds left, we can, there's a couple of ideas I have that I'll get with you on.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Either using the torch to burn
Yeah.
or taking these big sheets of plastic that I have, thick plastic. They're basically old solar pool panels for heating your pool.
And put notes.
They're 4 by 10, I think.
I mean, as long as they fit with all the
Or
plants.
4 by
it's
11?
not an issue.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're big, but for just choking out grass and stuff like that, you'd have to put them down in advance and weight them down.
At the next spot that we do, that'd probably be a great idea. Because I tried to do it with the tarp, and the tarp kind of blew around. and-
Yeah, I was about to say, Ken started with the tarp, but ended up moving to just plywood with cocaine on top to kill grass.
Yeah, these are thick, and the good thing is they're black too, so they get hot and they cook whatever's underneath it. So it
Okay.
starves at a blight, and
When we do the open ditch portion, the third phase of the project, that sounds really good.
yeah, if there's other areas that we're going to plant out in the city where there's grass that we want to get rid of, you don't need to excavate the grass unless it's high.
Yeah.
For that reason, you might want to, but if you just want to kill it and turn it into organic matter that the plants can thrive off of, there's a couple ways to do
Okay,
it.
that's excellent.
Okay.
Report from visiting waste management single stream facility. I went there today. It's very impressive. And the take-home message is, if you are not sure about what you're about to recycle, and this goes for everybody, anywhere about recycling, if you don't know, don't attempt to recycle. If you are not sure about that item, put it in the trash can.
Tie goes to the trash can.
So I goes to the trash can, it is better off that you do not contaminate an entire truckload that will then not be able to be processed. A single plastic bag can shut down the facility for up to 30 minutes. So they do not want your recyclables in a Publix plastic bag or in a trash bag and then in the can. They don't want that, that'll contaminate. They
And
do not
plastic bags can go to Publix.
plastic bags,
Right.
if they're clean, can go to Publix. They especially don't want plastic bags that are used and full of defecate from domesticated animals. There's amazing types of stores that we've heard of over there. But basically, it boils down to this: keep it simple, keep it safe, and recyclable, which you know is recyclable. It has to be clean and it has to be dry. clean and dry cardboard, clean and dry paper, clean metal, clean cans, clean jars, clean bottles. And when we talk about bottles, 3 types of bottles. You got your regular, your drinking bottle, your plastic water bottle, you got your jug, like your Tide comes in, and you got your tub, which your Betty Crocker comes in. Other than that, it's not going to get recycled. It has to be profitable for them to recycle it. And a lot of these things that we want to recycle, the battery, plastic holder thing, or the plastic wrap on something, none of that's recyclable. So when in doubt, leave it out.
Can I ask a dumb question that's on the board on that I've wondered, like, how about like a hummus container, you know, like something like that that's kind of like that, and it's not totally,
Right.
but it's not really strong plastic either?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you gotta clean it out, but is that
As
recyclable?
long as it's clean and the lid's on it, it's not going to jam the machine up.
Okay,
It's in that kind of gray zone where it's a tub, but is it big enough tub to justify the plastic? This is the right type of plastic. This is all about the type of plastic.
okay.
And the numbers are very misleading because just because there's a number, it doesn't mean you can recycle it, which is the hardest lesson for us to learn because we're trained with the number. The plastic lettuce thing, I don't think you can recycle that one after my day to day. As much as I would want to recycle Organic Girl lettuce tub, it's not the right tub, you know? And they're going to come out with more information on this stuff, but keep it really, really simple.
It only takes a 10% contaminant to actually throw the whole thing out. So it just needs to be 10%.
Even now with China only accepts 0.5% contamination.
Really?
And we currently produce 30% contamination.
Yeah, we're not even close to that.
Yeah, we're 30%-ish. And then 1.5. So the basically best message that I got today was that when in doubt, throw it out.
So the lids need to be on tubs?
Lids need to be on the item, whether it's a tub or a bottle cap. Bottle caps can't be loose.
Mm.
No beer bottle caps, they go in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are going to recycle glass, it has to be clean and try not to break it as best you can. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience, and I wish more people could do it, but because of what the facility is, it's just for like staff.
Where is that located?
Cocoa, just
Oh.
past Sam's.
Yeah, yeah.
Off of 520.
I'm just curious. I've never been in one, but I heard the smell is very bad.
It is so bad. I cannot get the smell out of my nose.
Yeah, I heard it's really bad.
I cannot get in the shower and just like,
Yep.
yeah, it's so bad.
What about the facility off of Sarno? If you just take Sarno West and you go through Wickham, there's a dump down there on the left right before this.
That's dumb.
So they don't do any recycling there at all?
Paint recycling and
They make
electronics.
But then it has to go to different places. And there's a list I have, which I'll post, which is all the different places to take all these different things, batteries, electronics, oils, greases, like, there are facilities for them, but it is not single stream.
This may be really obvious, but I think like the public education on what's recyclable, what you're just talking about, because I think people want at this point to comply, but there's a lot of confusion
So
out
there
there.
is, both Surfrider is doing something right now to try to educate the public on all of these things that we're talking about right now, as well as we actually talked about doing something like a flyer and trying to get it to all the residents as well. So yeah, that is in the works. We understand education.
And I have an idea for education.
Yeah.
Is Waste Management going to take some responsibility and
Oh, yeah.
Educate?
Oh, yeah. And they do.
this sounds like it's knowledge that's been around for a while, but new to everybody.
Well, the single streams changed a lot with what they can and do recycle. They have some good videos, they have some memes they're going to share with us, different like social media kind of outreach. There was a good video that I shared.
They also sent a bunch of flyers to Surfrider, so they've
I
got
have
a
a
bunch
stack
of.
of stuff in my office that I can, put with
Why
them.
they wouldn't send it directly to the customer?
They do mailers, but you'd be amazed. I mean, they have it stamped right on the bin,
Right.
and it still doesn't work. Like, it is literally stickered on the bin, what people can and cannot do, and
It was, when they first sent it out. but-
we might need a new sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and I can talk to
cool.
them about that, hey, maybe we should re-sticker. Give me stickers to pass out in my city, and we'll go around and we'll give them to, or we'll make them available, or we'll figure out a way to do that.
Like a magnet for the fridge and a sticker for the recycling bin would probably
Yeah,
be
I
something.
think I think more education from Waste Management is good too. So that was kind of that, today, and then, following up with.
I got, before you,
Oh, Sure.
I got a quick story about trying to recycle my roof. Okay, so I have a tile roof that was going to be replaced, or has been replaced. It's concrete, so concrete's recyclable material. So the roofer dropped off a dumpster in front of my house, and there were supposed to be 2 dumpsters, but there was only one. So luckily, I was able to make sure that only concrete went into the first dumpster. But the second dumpster, since they emptied that one, was mixed material and that could not be recycled. But when these guys, the dumpster guys, take this to the landfill, they don't care where they dump it. They just dump it wherever it's convenient for them. So there's no incentive for them to take it to the recycle for the concrete as opposed to just dumping in the landfill.
I mean, they're supposed to, that's their job.
Well, yeah, but there's no financial incentive to do that. So
The concrete, yeah, there is. That's what the guy told us today, is that they get money for using it for roads and stuff like that.
he told me, I mean, he basically was just a hauler of the waste,
Oh, my God.
and they don't have to pay a fee for any of it, or do they get a benefit of making sure that, but it was amazing what got thrown into that dumpster.
Wow.
Like stainless steel screws, full tanks of roofing foam. Toward the end, the roofers just throw everything in there, because they don't care, because they don't buy the materials. They're just there doing the labor. So that's something,
Yeah.
just knowledge that I wanted to just throw out to the community, that this is something that we need to, especially now that we're going to have a whole bunch of construction going on in that part of the city, or the north part of the city.
Let me see some context so I can double up with them.
And I understand that even shingles can be recycled, because it can be turned into road.
I think they use
The
the
asphalt or
word clean
something like that.
concrete. Is what they-
I wonder if this would be more of a state issue versus.
Well, it's a landfill issue.
Yeah, Waste Management is in charge of the land.
So if the landfill would say, okay, if you bring us clean concrete, we're not going to charge you. But if you bring us something for the landfill, we're going to charge you. But then eventually, maybe that would go back all the way to the roofer, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
That might even work with
We need-
recycling too, because the fact that, people don't recycle correctly in the recycling can, in my opinion, if you don't know how to use something right, maybe you don't deserve to use it.
Yeah.
Because that contaminates it for the rest of everybody else, right? So, what a fine on that person. This isn't for us to decide, I know, but,
But how would you ever know that?
oh, they know. They can tell you within, a certain radius as to what area that truck came from, and,
Acquired the stuff in it.
yeah. It was pretty interesting. They say it's like 1,500, 1,200 to 1,500 different residences get picked up per truck-ish, which it doesn't sound small, but, it narrows it down.
I happened to hear on the radio, I was listening to a station from Vero Beach, and Indian River, I guess, switched to single stream relatively recently, and they were publishing the statistics of how much they were recycling. I wonder if they keep statistics on that, and if they don't, that might be a good way to kind of like when they're educating about seatbelts, like we're 92% seatbelt use, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of a positive incentive to get people to encourage them, in addition to recycling the right stuff, to recycle, because I do feel like I've experienced this in my own life with my family. Like, you'd be shocked how many people are out there who just still don't know, but would love to get on board with it if they have the right information, and then a little bit of a pat on the back. Yeah, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And they're apparently keeping those stats in Indian River County, so.
I mean, the ultimate goal is to eliminate any waste at all from the city.
Right.
So recycling is a better option than throwing it in the landfill, but
But if these people can't recycle,
the same thing with yard waste. At some point, we need to discourage people from putting that down the street and encouraging it to be recycled
composted,
on site.
yeah. Well, okay, so that brings me to another point on my staff report.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mean to take you on a tangent there, but.
Sorry, yeah, well, I'll get to that one in a minute. I'll get through the order of operations here. So going from recycling, then goes to the plastic straw topic that we talked about last time, which I'd like to clarify and regroup on that previous topic on plastic straws. And after speaking with city staff, the most appropriate move forward would be to hold a meeting, regular meeting, and invite KBB to come talk about their litter quitter program, where then, if we like the litter quitter program as a board, to vote on bringing a motion to council to adopt, support, and work with them to combine efforts and resources to see how we can help each other and create some language to that effect to say that, I'm not going to say it exactly, but we, City of Satellite Beach, recommend participating in, promoting, and helping to educate the community about this program, whether it's through the beautification board going around to different businesses, or members of this board going around to different businesses and talking to them about the finer points of that, plan, because it seems like with the lagoon-friendly lawn thing, that kind of worked, and we have more lagoon-friendly lawns in our city than any other city. And if this program is similar, we could maybe try a similar approach.
So Surfrider has just partnered with Melbourne Beach and Atlantic for their ocean-friendly restaurant program. And they're going to be essentially going to all the restaurants. They've already got like 4 or 5 already that are on board, removing straws and even talking about styrofoam as well. So I don't know if we should coordinate those efforts. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think the best thing that we can do is just tell the public what's available. And if it's, hey, look, this is what's going on, can a board member of the sustainability board or the beautification board come in and talk to your business for 10 minutes about this? Anyone wants to be involved and kind of helm that, I think it's a worthy use of our time, if everybody would like to do that. The recommendation from staff is that we would then invite these groups to come in and talk to us, and then we can make motions to move to the council. Okay. The next thing is that the beautification board would like to partner more with the sustainability board. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the beautification board meetings, but they invite everybody to go to their meetings as well, because the beautification board kind of predates the sustainability board, and in some ways was unofficially doing things that, maybe may have been sustainable at one point, but now it's changed a little bit over time. Scotty Culp helped create that, and she's gone now, and a lot of the members have changed over, and they want to be more involved and create a more specific scope for their board, and they want to create a workshop where we can discuss that as boards.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's an awesome
Great
idea.
idea as well.
Yeah.
I completely agree on that.
I had the same thought when I was like just ignorant learning about the boards. I was like, well, I certainly hope the beautification board is using native species and stuff. Like, I hope these two boards are talking to each other. So,
Right.
that's like,
And that's kind of it, like, I'm the only one that goes to both meetings.
When is their meeting?
Their meeting is the first Friday of every month at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they are fantastic, wonderfully friendly people who are happy to be involved with,
So they'll come to our meeting then?
I was gonna say, yeah. For those who work.
Well, right, well, I'll talk to them about that, so if you want to kind of create a consensus of a time that I can suggest to them to do the workshop, that would be great. We can do that via email, no problem there.
That's pretty crazy.
But they want to do things that kind of overlap, they want to be more involved. So maybe with the restaurants, teaming up with them to go out and talk, maybe that'd be something. They're going to come out to more of the planting days. They're going to help KDB with the Lagoon Friendly Lawn program while they're doing their beautification Yard of the Month program. They'll look at, oh look, there's Lagoon Friendly Lawn is on my route where I'm looking at homes. Oh, that one still is good. That Lagoon Friendly Lawn might need some more help. I'll call. And they're going to give them the address, and then I'll call KDB and talk to them about it. So that's the kind of thing they're looking, but they were really looking to define their scope, because we have such a well-defined scope for our board. They don't want to do too much overlapping, but just the right amount. So they're kind of excited to grow a little bit. And then we already talked about Ron's motion with the garden, and that was really great. And then I want to double back to Dylan. We were talking about
So I'd like to know when we plan on doing kind of that mural on that wall. I think that's a great space for community events and.
So, yeah, okay. At a previous meeting, we had discussed a native plant nursery that I need to find the exact funds for. And I'll come back with that next month. Unfortunately, this month got it pulled a little away from me. But the basic relationship with Beautification Board is they'll help kind of run that native plant nursery with us. And then we'll do the mural behind that on the sides and on the bottom. And we'll do first, I think, the nursery and then the mural. So I was looking to just get it done by the end of the year.
Is it going to be difficult to do the mural after we have all that going on in front of it?
We should do mural first.
That's what I'm thinking.
Will the mural be the whole wall?
Just kind of like a picture frame border of the bottom being the.
So imagine just a frame. We're going to frame that wall so we can do like movie premieres and just like big community events and use that grass space to pull people to the community garden
The
and
frame
the
will be
outdoors.
of the lagoon and the environment.
Yeah,
of the
so
beach.
it's
So
like-
the plants will kind of blend into it.
You have anybody in mind to,
Damien, I think would be good.
Yeah.
Vern Manioli is a good one, and then Courtney had another artist she was friends with. So we'll put a call out to artists. Maybe that could be a cool summer thing to do, when it's not raining, which is the end of the rainy season.
might be tricky to do it in the summer.
Yeah. But I mean, the plant thing wouldn't be too bad. We just move the plants out of the way and paint. That'd be fine. So that's kind of that one. And then staff has specifically asked to look into recycling fund projects. The board has access to money in the recycling fund. We want to make sure that we use that monies. So some of the projects that we'll look at using the money for are a compost for residents project that we had discussed previously, which has gotten traction and is approved by the city manager. So we will mirror the Orlando project. If anyone's familiar with what Chris Castro's done at Orlando, but basically we will give away composters to residents that want to compost. They will follow up with us, and we'll follow up with them. I'll follow up with them and see how they're doing. And if they're using it, great. If not, we can transition it to another resident. But the idea is to get people composting, because part of that waste reduction is the composting at home component. And the information that already exists out there, all we have to do is link to it. Orlando did a great job of creating a website. We're going to work with Chris. We're going to get the same bins. We're just going to do the same project. And I would like to move that we would start with, at least $2,000 worth of composting bins.
How much are the bins?
They're roughly 50 a piece, I think, was the cost.
Are these like that?
These are just the sit bins, so it just sits there underneath your bin, and you open it up and you turn it manually, and then you cover it up.
How do you turn it?
With a shovel or a rake or something.
Are those included in?
We can include the rake.
I've never had.
Well, I mean,
it.
it's, the community garden, you have the pitchfork, it takes quite a, it's,
Yeah.
you need a sturdy piece of equipment to
Absolutely.
do that.
So we'll kind of talk about that a little more. I'll come back with an exact cost of that one. But then any other projects you guys want to do, just to make sure we're still bringing things forward to council. Those are some of the things we want to bring forward to council.
You might want to look into worm composting too.
Who did I talk to about
I've had more success with that. And
that? Yeah.
the other ones just turned into like
You can add worms to it, for sure.
yeah.
I think that might be a nice kind of addition. It's like, hey, we'll find a worm guy and then give people the contact so that we can composter and then we can, make that connection for them. But yeah, that's something that we definitely want to see happen as a pilot program.
Or a barrel garden where you put your compost inside of it and it
Right, and then the dumping
feeds it.
ones. These will be simple. If it grows, great. But we'll just kind of do what works at first.
So it's a recycling budget.
Yeah, I'll let him.
This money we get back from
Recyclables, yeah.
Yeah, this is our budget.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be money that we spend on recycling, it's money that we.
Yeah, money
Get back.
Money that we are generating.
But then this board has the ability to spend it into
Right.
sustainable projects.
And our city manager just wants us to be reminded that we have access to that.
I think our assistant manager has a different idea on that, so let's not go too much into that right now.
Okay, funds are what they are, and We want to use them appropriately, so we want to create projects that are,
Really?
yeah.
We need to get on the same page on that. Let's just.
I'm just repeating what I was told.
Okay.
So we'll come back, I'll come back with the exact number, and then I'll present that to you, and then we'll present that to council, and then we'll move forward with the composting program that way. The other object, the next thing is the fluoride presentation, which will be postponed
Next month.
till next month. My presentation will also be postponed, so I'll have a couple of them next month, but one of them will be about our use of herbicide in the city, our use of fertilizer in the city, and our move to become completely transparent and up to date with all our practices, because there's been some changeover in public works, and we now have a new lead that does that. The old flag retired, and a lot of his knowledge was learned knowledge that wasn't exactly written down. So we're going to get exact numbers of how much we use, where we use it, and then what can we do differently. We're going to look into how effective is salt and vinegar versus herbicides versus Avenger. Where can we use those different things? Where is it practical? Where is it cost effective? What are the costs of these things? Because there's a lot of options out there right now. And we
Flamethrower.
Flamethrower. I mean,
That works the best.
hey, you know what?
He just really wants a flamethrower.
It kills everything. You can only do it when it's raining, because if you do it when it's dry, we can catch your lawn on fire.
And then the next one is, I'm going to come to council with a motion for, I think it's a referendum, no, a resolution, that's the word, for banning plastic straws in the city. Because everybody's doing it, it's the cool thing to do. I don't know if you guys have been on Facebook lately, but it seems like
It's
every
happening everywhere.
day,
Yep.
some country, some city is banning plastic straws. So we got some language that I'll bring out, and we'll bring that, I'll bring that out there to council.
So I want to just speak on that for 1 second. So we were going to potentially do that in Mel Beach and in the Atlantic, but before we move forward with the actual ban, that's why Surf Rider and the cities are working together on first approaching all the restaurants, getting them on board, removing it from their process, and then moving forward in the community, because we don't want to interrupt the business that doesn't yet understand how they're going to transition out of that or how it's going to impact them. So we're communicating to all the businesses first, and then we'll push forward with that. So it may be beneficial. It may just be beneficial first to push forward with getting the businesses on board with the idea and getting them okay with that before we just put a ban, because then we end up creating a dynamic in the community that all the businesses are like, what are you doing?
Well, I think we talked last month about having kind of like a workshop where we're going to get input from, and I know, for example, like Meg's and Long Doggers are two of the first, to my knowledge, locally that made, straws optional. And I think that they'd probably be, a lot of businesses would probably be interested in also an alternative, like whether it be paper straws or whatever the case may be.
We haven't found much pushback. They just want time. They want to understand what we're doing, and that's all. And I feel like that we should do the same in this community. We should approach all the restaurants before we just say, you need to stop using them.
Because there's going to be one, we don't want to be viewed as being an anti-business thing, it's a pro-environment thing,
Okay. Thank you very much. Try to pump the brakes sometimes. Good stuff. Okay. And then the last thing is that the city manager would like to invite everybody to be part of the sustainability working group. This is something new that's happening. It's county-wide, and there will be an email sent out with dates and things of that nature. But basically, the idea is that everybody wants to be invited to sit down and help direct sustainability countywide. And since this board has been so instrumental in that, you'll be getting more information about that in the near future. It's the sustainability working group.
And who would be,
Courtney's going to be chairing that.
is it through the county, or?
I believe it's a conglomeration. It's a collective.
So it's not actually a county thing yet, but we're definitely going to move the county in that direction.
Yeah.
So instead of having the sustainability summit?
It's going to follow up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a follow-up of that. It's kind of,
That sounds like a better approach, I
I think this is the fruit of the summit. Like, the summit kind of planted the seed, and this has been growing, and now it's time to kind of like help direct it a little bit.
Did she say how often they would meet?
No?
I mean, originally with the
Or she did, I
Sustainability
didn't write it
Summit,
down.
we were just planning on doing it once a year. Or
Yeah, no, this will be more often
This
than
is,
that.
yeah, it's gonna be a little more active.
Yeah, it's be more active. I think it's at least quarterly probably,
Okay, that sounds good.
or maybe monthly.
If not, you're not going to get really any, I mean, a
Yes.
year.
Yeah,
That's
you don't get
too long to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'd forget what you're even
But we
working
can still
on.
do the summit in conjunction with all this to kind of be like, okay, so what's been happening?
Yeah, yeah.
And then we can follow up, and we'll have a lot to follow up on because of things like this.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's plenty for me.
All righty, well, thank you. Any public comment on what we're doing? All right, next item on the agenda is discuss take action on composting. Didn't we already talk about that?
So
We're
yeah,
we're talking about Publix
So we
composting
kind
and,
of shifted the gears from Publix a little bit internally to go with something that can be achieved, because the waste management issue is where are we going to store, maintain, harvest, and cultivate all this compost? Waste management wants to do something in the future. They want to create a facility where this is possible. I think by starting in the neighborhoods with local residents, we can say, we've had people compost X amount in this program, Publix has so much available, those two things combined, great. If Publix comes up with a space, yeah, but we don't have space in the city as much as we want to, unless we can figure out a way to make it directly profitable,
Right.
which is difficult.
the way that would have to work is all the material coming from Publix is green material. You'd have to take that and combine it with brown material and somehow mix it.
Cost.
We got tons of brown material.
Right.
Everybody generates it coming out of their, you
Yeah,
know, and their,
but it's the
Yard
turning
waste.
of it, it's the maintenance of it that is gonna be the cost, which we, have an opening for a public works position also, coming up soon. And we'll have more of them, I mean, because we need so much staff. We don't have enough, especially if we want to do more. So it's, from staff's opinion, we would table that until the appropriate time arises when Waste Management has a property in mind, or where Publix has the ability to facilitate that a little further. The option that I had for Publix is the expensive one in this case, where they would do it on-site in a $10,000 on-site recycling composting machine that spits out perfect product at the end, and all you do is dump the bucket. You have to GoFundMe for that, because I don't think Publix is gonna drop 10 grand on it.
No,
That'd
and that
be
would be
cool
more of
just to have-
a corporate kind of thing. What do you think about setting up another meeting with Dave and
I'd love to, yeah.
and
We just
further
gotta update him on what we've learned.
at the least,
I
right?
think that has to happen.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and speak with Dave this week.
who's Dave? Publix?
Dave White, our
Yeah,
store
Publix.
manager here.
For the next guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that'd be great to have something like that in the city that we could use in the community garden, that we could
Yeah.
use.
I mean, Publix might have 10 grand that they can do for that, I don't know.
They definitely do, but whether or not they want to spend it on that.
Yeah, it's for other things.
If they give it to everything else.
Now,
what
can
are
we
they
go
gonna
to waste management and say, look, we're going to divert
Maybe.
a huge portion of our brown yard waste
To this.
to this, so
Okay.
you won't have to truck it all the way over to the landfill.
Do they do a shared cost match with Publix?
That's, that's the direction I would like to see. Let's go. Try to
Okay.
push, we need to keep pushing waste management.
I'll get management,
Yeah.
before we go to the meeting, I'll talk to those management.
I mean, I would think they would be somewhat receptive to these ideas because
Yeah.
it makes them look good
And it's less,
and it's innovative.
yeah, less.
It might be a good moment for them to look good with,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seriously, you know, I mean, they might want some good PR,
Yeah.
people who care about
Maybe use
composting.
PR,
Yeah.
Okay.
So the composting bins that we're talking about getting for the community garden,
For residents,
so residents are bringing composting
in their backyard.
from, Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is basically just kitchen scraps. that
Vendors
they're-
deals, eggshells, coffee grounds.
Okay.
And we'll give them a list, we'll tell them how often they need to turn it, if they need to water it, those kinds of things. And come with a little handbook, they'll sign up, they'll do like a pledge, like they do with other things. And, you know, if it's too much for them, then they tell us and we get the thing back.
Make sure you get them a little container to put in their kitchen to clean.
Yeah.
Because that's the first step,
So it
right?
might be like $100 worth of materials per person kind of situation, and then we can figure out how much we can move from there.
Would they be able to put their yard waste in those as well, or no?
I mean, some of the brown material, like,
Yeah.
leaf litter and things like that.
Yeah, you want to. You
Yeah.
want to mix it in, some leaves or something.
And they're gonna have to, I think, as part of the pledge, say like, you know, I'll use the compost on my property for these things, I can justify doing it, and I would say that I'll, you know, be responsible with it, some kind of, you know, simple pledge.
And then the city comes and picks it up from,
They'll use it on site, like, they'll use it in their garden, they'll use it around their plants, they'll use it as part of their regular home activity.
You'd be amazed at how much
Yes.
scraps you generate in your kitchen, especially if you're vegan or something like that, like I am. But, I mean,
Are you really vegan?
literally striving vegan. But, yeah, I mean, literally like once every 3 days, I take a container about this big and I just bury it in my yard because,
I mean, you can do a whole garden bed in your yard if you have that much compost.
yeah, I just got tired of trying to compost it and it was too much work. So I just dig a big trench and put it in there and I cover it up and so the
Put that
rodents
option
don't get
on
in.
there too, if people want to do that. So,
Works good. I mean, immediately the earthworms come and start eating it and,
yeah. That's the good thing about these compost bins is they're on the ground, so they have earthworms are able to get in there.
yeah, I'd like to see how that works because I'd be
You can always
open.
check out the website for Orlando.
I think we have a good example of a before and after and a before here, because we're not, I don't want to say we're not composting at all, but we certainly would be interested in doing it. It's more of like a lack of knowing where to start, but we definitely would be open to doing it. I think it's a good idea.
I'll send a link out to the Orlando website.
Cool.
Yeah.
All righty. Any public comment on the composting ideas we're talking about?
Sounds good.
You like it? All right. Next one is project updates from board members and brainstorm. Brainstorm on new agenda items, maybe? Is that what that means? All right, you want to start, Nick? Do you have anything you're working on? You're kind of, well, you were
Really,
working on the public side.
yes, it sounds like right now, having the follow-up with Dave is absolutely a must-do, and Nick and I'll arrange that, let Nick know, absolutely, and I think that'll help to get things moving forward with the composting. And also, as far as storing the compost, I have spoken with Holy Name. I don't know, I haven't got an official yes. I just keep getting a bunch of, great feedback, which is great. So I'm hoping to, to push a little bit more in that direction and try and get an answer this week is what is my goal. So
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great contact you have there at Publix.
Absolutely, and I'm having lunch with another store manager that runs a store on Vieira, which has even more room, and maybe that's something I could bring up to this gentleman, so,
Chris?
absolutely.
All right, hey, this past week, I was in San Diego for 5 days, and it was awesome. I was really looking to see what they're doing as far as sustainability, and they had a lot of native gardens throughout the city that were pretty awesome. And since we were talking about the beautification thing, their sustainable gardens were really gorgeous. So I think that's really cool that we're going to be getting on board with the beautification part of our government too, because we could make some really, really pretty places.
Yeah, we have a
nice
lot of
areas.
parks that are
Yeah.
underutilized.
Underutilized, yeah. So we could really do some stuff if that does pan When I was in Encinitas, which is just,
Heaven on earth.
it's pretty crunchy, if you know what I mean, but I'll tell you, I did an event with Surfrider, and we did a beach cleanup on Saturday. There were about 200 people there, okay? 200 people. The event started with free yoga on the beach, and then we walked the beach. One half of the group went 2 miles one way, one half went 2 miles the other way. When we got back, there were, recyclables, they had a bag for recyclables, bag for trash. The trash bags were not even halfway full. Like, the people who live there are just so conscious of keeping their beaches clean of all litter. I mean, it was a struggle to find litter on those beaches. You had to actually kick up the ground and
They also
search
do
for
those really consistently.
Yeah,
They have a
yeah.
great turnout, and it's
They're-
consistent.
It
so.
was a really good problem to have, but it was just a bunch of people having conversations, because we were all looking down, just looking for stuff and lifting up rocks, and really all that we were finding were just broken down plastics. So it was pretty cool. Of course, while I was there, I took advantage of the bike sharing stuff, because I love that. And bike sharing is definitely something that I would like to add to our agenda items. I don't know if that's probably our next item to talk about. But I
Was it an e-bike, or was it just a regular?
e-bikes, e-bikes, and then they have, it's 50 cents an hour. It's real cheap, like 25 cents a half hour or something like that to ride a bike around town. It's pretty cool, and they're all tracked by GPS, so they don't actually have to go to a fixed location. You can just park them right outside of your destination, and since they're tracked, you get a map of where they are, and you
And
can
they
just
just
go pick
lock
up.
or something like that?
Yeah, they have a mechanism that actually goes through the back wheel and locks them. And their scooters are
You
also.
lock them through like an app or something?
Yeah, well, first off, you click on a barcode on the bike, it unlocks the bike. Then you ride it to your destination, and you lock the bike on your app, and then that mechanism goes back into place, locking that bike there. It's marked. So they also have some electric assisted ones that are there too.
Question about the bike.
Can
Mhm.
Uber provide?
What is the connection? Is it a credit card?
Credit card, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if your credit card's linked to it. Yep.
Yeah.
Say it's like Uber for a bike, kind of,
Right.
destination.
It was really cool, really cool. So
California.
I've often thought about bicycle events and so forth. In my travels, I've actually been to a couple events that were kind of, I guess, socialist, if you will, but people come together in a kind of a swap meet to fix up their bikes. And I'm wondering if we could possibly have an idea for maybe sort of an event in the fall to get kids ready for school. Maybe we can have a bike tune-up,
That's a great idea.
And
That's a great idea.
I was looking at the date of September 27th, which is actually my birthday.
Of course.
Yeah. Or August 23rd, I don't know.
Or September
But I don't know if that event on Thursday with the community garden is going to be outside.
We do have the event.
At the garden. If it's going to be outside, then maybe we could possibly do
Do it right
a
in the parking lot or
a
something.
tune-up event right there.
Oh, that'd be a great concept.
And,
Yep.
Or in the, like where the racquetball courts are.
right. And we could,
Outside racquetball courts.
Oh,
so,
yeah, the wall ball.
Yeah, wall ball.
Yeah.
so I may propose next month, maybe a few ingredients that we would need to pull off an event like that. if
Another thing
you're
that'd be cool is to have a night ride or an
Yeah.
evening ride.
Yeah.
I know they do one in LA. And it's just super cool. They just go all through the city
We
and.
did it in Paris, too.
Yeah, in Paris. I've
Columbia
done
has got a
that.
huge one on Sundays, I think it is. They don't
Yeah,
have-
Ciclovia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before.
I went
So-
running it, and I was like, what's going on? I didn't know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, I've been thinking about stuff like that. Also, based on we had the Sustainability Summit in January, and I have personally been listening to a lot of green builder what are they called? Seminars. And I'd encourage you to listen to them. You can listen to them in the background, but they do have a lot of pretty good, insightful information.
Yeah, I go on that website
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, it's
Green Builder
great.
Magazine, and you can just see their online,
Or I get daily emails.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Everybody's-
it's
But
amazing
those-
how much content they produce.
Yeah, but those webinars, they are live, and it's fun in that way, and you kind of know when it's going to be, and that keeps you kind of interested, so I just encourage you about that. And there was one last thing. I've also been thinking a lot about recycling, and how we could possibly recycle in our area. I know there are a lot of items that can't go all the way to the recycling facilities, but I was wondering if there's items that we could reuse in our schools or in the local area. The one thing that comes to mind is, when you make those, what are they, terrariums, or for school, when you have the plant on the inside. And you have
Yeah.
Terrarium.
Terrariums?
Terrarium.
Terrariums, yeah, terrariums. Maybe we can do some type of drive at an event that we do to collect some of those for the school.
If you want to
to
partner
reuse.
with the junior sustainability board, that sounds like a great junior sustainability
Well, there you go.
project.
Something like, I don't know what the kids are using that they have to bring from home, but if we could supply stuff like that to them like that, maybe it'd be a way that we can recycle those things. I don't know, it's just
I know
an
the teachers, they go out to the PTAs and stuff like that and
Mhm.
request items,
Sure.
but they just do it through their school. It's not done, community-wide.
So, okay, well, this is only brainstorming on how we could recycle things in-house without having to rely on sending them out and maybe them being recycled. If there are some items that we can think of that we can reuse in this area, I just wonder what.
I agree, and I
what we
think
can-
reuse is far more important than recycling, so.
Right.
Well, for the kids, when they do the science fair, they also do the art fair, and there's a category for recycled art. Maybe
That's
we
a
could
great
do
idea.
like a
We should do a
community.
recycled art event.
Right.
That would be huge.
Yeah.
Quick plug, I'm unfortunately going to be out of town, but I've got some friends who are doing an event at Groundswell. It's on June 23rd. It's called Garage to Groundswell, where it's the Neals, they live in Indian Harbor. They're an awesome couple. They just, last Saturday, I guess maybe the Saturday before, they had artists or people who consider themselves to be artists come take stuff out of their garage, and that's going to be the event on the 23rd, basically whatever they fashion into an art piece. So it's June 23rd at
Groundswell, it's great.
Yeah, unfortunately, my wife and I'll be in Wisconsin, or we'll definitely be there, but it's a cool combination of art and
That's awesome.
recycling or reusing.
That, Mark, also Eco Verde School would probably want to be involved too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eco art, and stuff like that, we'd probably
Oh, yeah.
get June Sustainability Board, kind of help with that.
Yeah, we went to the Kentucky Derby
Kentucky
thing.
Derby, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
I could ask the art teacher at our kids' school too, because I know they always do big recycle. In fact, I think our school won the district award for recycled art this year. So they always do, not only like the students within the school, but they'll do like class-wide projects and things like that. So I can ask her if she'd like to be involved.
Yes. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Much good stuff.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
No updates?
I don't have any personal updates other than, we bought our house in Satellite in January, and so I'm taking over my yard, and I want to make it more sustainable. So that's going to be a personal project. I won't waste board time on it, but I might waste some of your individual time to try to work on that. I mean, it's definitely a work in progress, but I'm excited.
Actually, the video that I'll be doing with Ken Lerman about his yard, he essentially started essentially taking sections of his yard out using first tarps, then pieces of wood, and you can shape these pieces of wood in circles, triangles, whatever you want, kill the grass underneath, and then go native in those sections, and then you can expand. His yard is now almost one garden. At one time, we were calling it 4 gardens, 7 gardens. It's almost now one garden, and it's an incredible project that started through just taking sections of the yard out and making it look, aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time moving in that direction.
Yeah, that's an attainable step-by-step way to do it, because I can relate to a lot of people who want to do something that's like, where do you start, So, cool. And so much awesome stuff there. One thought I had just throwing out there, growing up around here, observing kids who are going to school, I think the bike tune-up idea is awesome. We might want to include skateboards in that too, if we have people who have the knowledge, because it's equally, and you see
My neighborhood.
Boards, probably.
Oh my God. New wheels, new bearings or something?
Maybe like a raffle for someone.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And then about the night rides, I think that's an awesome idea. They do stuff like that up in Atlanta, and really here, the Cyclovia thing is cool. They shut down the highways, but really, as long as we avoid A1A and South Patrick, you can get from anywhere in Satellite. If you go past the library and keep going, you can get into Indian Harbor. You can go a long way until you really hit O'Galley's, your only hard other major intersection.
I think that's a great community engagement thing to really get people on their bikes and
maybe we could
make it
even
fun. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we could do it
Like a running for Brews for bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about like a fall run, like 4 months in the fall,
Yeah.
or 3 months in the fall?
Yeah, the summers are, well, if you do it late, late enough that you could do it, but, yeah, the fall would
The
be.
time changes or something?
Summer heat, and you got the rain to deal with too in the
Yeah.
afternoon and evening times. But yeah, if we wanted to, because biking's further, maybe even if we wanted to go down Indian Harbor, we could talk to, I don't know anything about how we play with Indian Harbor or not, but if we want to go into their area.
They'd be on board.
Well, my first thought was incorporating it with the Mayor's Fitness Challenge too.
Yeah,
And that's like
Yep.
right after the beginning of the year through May.
that'd be perfect.
So I tried to do bike rides myself.
We want the timing to be early enough, because it gets dark
We
late,
can do
right?
whatever we want.
Okay, I'm just saying, I do think it's important to time it when it's darker earlier, so that younger people can get involved too, because if we
Yeah.
are waiting until 8 or 9 to bike, then you're gonna have only adults, not the kids involved
Do
in
it at
that.
dusk.
Yeah, you're gonna,
Yeah.
but I mean, like,
Or dusk.
when it starts getting,
Too, when your parents and the kids do it together?
but that's what I'm saying, we wanna do it when the
Time of
sun,
year.
time of the year when the sun sets earlier, so that they're not going to sleep yet.
This time of year, the sun goes down or after the kids do.
Yeah, so you wanna time that so the kids can be involved, yeah,
So the beginning of the year is better, right?
in the winter.
And while we're talking about it, we should just put some bands along the trail. Yeah, some music along the trail,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like the Satellite, remember the Satellite high school group came and played
Oh,
for
I was
us?
thinking something different.
I was pretty impressed by the Delora band at the 5K. I thought, I don't have any musical talent, but I was, yes, there's them too.
Cool. Nice. All right, so, the only thing
Sorry,
go ahead.
just piggybacking on what he was talking about gardening. Do we have an update on the grant for
No updates on grants.
the sustainable, the barrel garden, whatever? No?
Yeah.
No, okay.
What about solar? What's going on with solar?
So it's all moving forward. First thing you'll probably see is FPL is gonna start on Canopy, and then shortly after that, you'll see Clean Footprint start on the building here.
What's that out?
That's the gazebo for the Lions Club.
Oh, okay.
They're
From
gonna-
Lions.
From Lions Club.
They're building it.
It's not just for them, it's also from them. Everybody gets to use the gazebo.
Should be built in
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was working on was a rain barrel project at the library with Nick. He was helping. And we finally finished that. It was kind of disappointing because what I wanted to do, I had some really good ideas on how to automate it. And unfortunately, the library did not want it, or they didn't want me to put in a sprinkler timer that would control the valves with power. But we're going to try it out at the, at our garden. So I have stuff left over from that.
So public works help,
Yeah, the main thing they need to do is just get the rain barrels, or level, and then I'll come and help orchestrate all that. We'll put the valves in and find a place for the sprinkler timer, and then it'll all be automated. Then we can even put a pump in at some point if we want to do that too. So yeah, there's basically 4 rain barrels at the library right now, 2 on each side, on the Indian Harbor Beach side, and 2 on the satellite side. And we bought mulch, and they put in a bunch of native plants. So yeah, go by and check it out. And there's one of them that's actually automated. I did throw just a battery valve on there, so it'll turn on periodically, and there's drip hose.
You checked it out since the rain?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Does it fall?
Yeah, well, one of the problems was they didn't. I was going to put a provision to have an overflow and divert the water, because that's always a big deal, especially when you get these huge rainstorms. You got to be able to divert that somewhere, but we can add that too. I still got those things. But yeah, that was it. It turned out pretty good. Just happy with it. Gazzy?
I don't have anything to report.
So the fluoride will be moved to the next meeting. I also wanted to bring up in regards to the education for recyclables, we are actually going to do a video on the 3 locations that we just put recycling stations at. There's 3 beach accesses. So we're going to do an educational video on that and explain what can and can't be put into that receptacle.
Very important, because, I mean,
yeah.
it's a huge step for us to get those there, and then if people don't use them correctly.
Yeah, then Public Works will end up pulling them. So we want to make sure that they're used properly.
And I did talk with Waste Management about the sand issue, because, you know, you're going to get some sand in there. It's not a deal breaker. I mean, you can't, like, do a beach cleanup and get a water bottle that's got barnacles on it, but if you go to the beach and you put your bottle in sand and then, you know, put it in the can, it's okay. It's not a ton of sand. You don't have to dump a bunch of sand in there.
You talking about the new recycle bins?
New ones, yeah.
So they're at 3 places?
Yep. Grant, Sunrise, and Shell. They're dual, so there's composting on the right and landfill on the left, I believe it is.
I thought it was trash and
Yes.
That's
Recycling and
landfill. It says
Okay.
landfill.
Okay, I thought-
Which is really nice, it doesn't say trash, because I like the language of landfill, because it tells someone this is where it's going.
just making sure you didn't think there was compost.
No. Landfill on the left, landfill on the right. It's easy to remember too, L and R.
Yeah.
I think waste is a good term too. It's a little bit of a guilt trip.
A little bit. Landfill. Makes it think it's,
We're trying to fill this land.
All right, any public comment on the board member updates or what we have planned? Okay. Nick, I have one quick question for you before we move on to the next item. The meeting that I wasn't here, David Vigliotti, there was a guy named John Silver, and he was asking for help with his yard. I'm wondering did we ever?
I didn't follow them now.
Yeah, I actually saw, I think the very next week went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff. And his yard is pretty much,
Yeah, so
So I did talk to John.
He was very passionate about that.
he's a great guy. I've met him before. He's a contractor. He built a big house behind ABC.
Yeah, we talked for a good while. Like, he brought his plans in.
3-story.
I had a big conversation with him.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we.
But I think following up with him after that and seeing where he's at, a great idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And what about Ken? You said your friend Ken had started out with the 2 gardens that turned to
So
3
Ken
to 7
Linderman,
to...
he's actually the professor at FIT, head of sustainability. He's the one that has the interns that did the sustainability program here.
Okay.
So he loves sustainability, and he actually practices it himself. He started a few years ago trying to transition away from St. Augustine grass because he understood that we're just not supposed to be using it the way we are. And so he started by just slowly picking small areas because in the beginning his wife was just not on board. And so it was like he had to pick small areas. He first started with just tarps, but then he found that it was actually better for him to shape pieces of wood into exactly what he wanted that area to be, and then just put a couple coquina rocks on it, and then the grass would die. He would just pull up the grass, and then he would plant natives into that section. And that was his process. And now essentially he's got his whole yard, both front and back, all native plants.
When you say shaped pieces of wood, like plywood or
So
something?
plywood, yeah, you can just cut up plywood exactly how you'd like that shape to be in your yard, and then you just lay it down, put a couple coquina rocks on it, leave it there, the grass will die, and then you pull it all up, and then you can plant exactly the shape of native plants you want.
I'll bring those can I bring those over to the community garden?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, the other thing we could use them for is just for like flooring in wherever you don't want weeds to grow, you can just.
I got a spot for them now. I got a spot.
I do want to mention, this has been like a year-long process that I've been helping Ken with this, and we're going to be releasing a video next month that shows the whole process and how he started and where he is now.
Right. Did he win Yard of the, Did he win Yard of the Year?
No, I mean, I don't even think most people even...
Yard of the Month?
I know that he has a KBB certification. Yeah, and...
Maybe we could time that well.
Yeah.
Where are his boards now, the boards that he used? Where are the plywood boards?
Can you reuse those?
Yeah, so I know he's got a lot against the back fence in his backyard, and he's also got piles of coquina rock. He loves keeping all the coquina rock he can get. So he's got tons of coquina rock, tons of plywood, but he doesn't get rid of it. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, I think that there may be reusabilities there.
But you don't have to have, you don't have to kill it in advance. What you can do is you can just, wherever you want this island to be, you just dig a hole, put the plant that you want in there, or the plants that you want, then you go over to the DRS Community Center and you get a whole bunch of cardboard, and you just position the cardboard right on top of your grass, and you just throw mulch on it.
Yeah, the cardboard he didn't like.
Chokes out all the weeds, kills all the grass, and then you have your island instantaneously.
And here's a technical question, but what's left, the brown matter that's left over from the dead grass below, I mean, that's okay to leave there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it turns into great compost.
He chose not to. He didn't like cardboard because it gets soggy and breaks down, and just it doesn't last the way he would have liked it to. That's why he moved to wood.
But he just left the dead remnants to decay?
No, he pulled it all up.
Oh,
so
he
he pulled all of that up and then used the soil instead of using the... But I mean, you could if you wanted to wait.
Cardboard lasts probably a year. The only thing you have to do is you have to take a pitchfork and poke holes in it so that water percolates through it. If not, you're gonna starve your plants. I mean, not with the kind of rain we've had now, but in the dry. But yeah, I've done it we did it at Delora, we did it on a lot of different projects, and it'll last a year, I think, before it totally breaks down. And the earthworms love to eat it too, so they're attracted to it, and they'll go in there and
compost it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I kind of veer off course here, just really briefly? Okay, excuse me.
Sure.
Thanks.
Were we on course?
Yeah. So a lot of people, well, not a lot. I've heard I've spoken with a few individuals that didn't even know they had a septic tank underneath their property.
Not in this city.
In this city. And
there's still properties on Roosevelt.
That they weren't sure that, they had no idea they existed on their property. And I was just wondering how...
Not being used.
Oh, okay.
Right, not being used.
They're not just on the property.
Oh, okay.
But it's been vacated.
Right, okay. It's not being used.
No, it's not being used, no. Not being used.
Yeah.
No, excuse me. And, I was just wondering how homeowners would be able to find out, that information. I mean, I'm not a homeowner yet, I don't know if
Oh,
it's,
it's fine, but they have one?
well, that there was one prior, to them installing their new one, or, anything, along those lines, kind of. Okay.
Everybody's getting hooked up to the lines.
Well, as far as old ones, how could they find out if there's an old one that potentially is leaking?
Call before you dig is a really great service, and it's completely free. And anybody can call it, and you can have them come out, and they will check your property for underground lines, power lines, pre-existing.
But they're not gonna tell you if you have a septic system.
I mean, wouldn't they tell you if they had a septic system?
No, because that's not.
So I know that the last,
All utilities?
I know the
That's
last,
a whole nother can of
okay.
worms.
yeah, I don't believe there is any process for that right now, because in the last COC meeting, they actually talked about that at the end, about they think that at the sale of the property, homeowners should be aware of what's in the ground,
Right.
previous maintenance, all of that, because there are people that are buying homes not realizing what they're getting themselves into when it comes to what's actually already in their ground. So that is something that they're trying to figure out if there's a way to start addressing that at point of sale of properties. So I don't think there is anything right now that really assists you in that, other than the fact that you need a permit, or technically if you go back far enough, I guess you didn't, but right now you definitely need to get a permit to put one in. So there is maybe a way to check with the state on that.
Okay.
Back then, they probably didn't pull permits.
Yeah, but I'm saying far enough back, I'm sure they weren't pulling permits though, so.
This is all volunteer, they're just digging holes and.
Yeah, careful.
Yeah. Appreciate
That's
it.
an interesting point, though, because you wouldn't really know.
I've had,
That was why I was talking about it the last COC
Last
meeting,
month.
because it's like,
You've had two people ask?
in the
Because
last
sometimes
month,
you can.
just mention,
If you
you
gotta
know,
try to
conversation
dig.
that they found
and
out
you hit
that
concrete,
there was an old one there
that
that's
means
now
you have
leaking and
concrete
been
tank
leaking
in
for
there,
so
like
long,
holding
and,
things.
they just had
I've
no
been
idea it
counting
was
that
there.
much of my rental
And
property.
apparently there
Mhm.
may be others.
Do we have an idea like what parts of the city it's more likely to be?
No, just not as of yet, but
Okay.
that's something that we're looking
Let me know.
at. Absolutely.
Start mapping around, or there's a pattern.
Will do.
I wouldn't doubt if there's one on Roosevelt, a lot of different developers develop the cul-de-sacs on Roosevelt. And near Price Street, there's some houses at the head of the court that kind of have a mound that might look like a septic. And that all those houses were developed in different phases. I wouldn't mind if that whole block may,
Especially if it's the same developer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I bet we can visually see some of them in the area if we think about it.
Tell your friends one of the ways they'd try to find a septic tank on their property is just taking a rigid probe and pushing it in the ground in a vicinity that would be suggestive of where a septic tank could be, and they'll hit it if it's there.
What was that called? What kind of probe?
It's just a rigid probe. It would be just like a thin piece of metal that can go into the ground without bending
Okay.
too terribly.
Sure.
And you just push it down, and then the one that's on my property is literally, the plumber brought me out back,
Yep.
and he said, I think we ought to start here, and he pushed his probe down, and sure enough, bang, hit it.
Really?
How deep was it now?
His probe maybe went down 3 feet.
6 foot?
2.5 feet.
Tall, right? About 6 foot tall probe?
It wasn't that tall. No, it wasn't that tall.
Those tanks are huge, yeah. I dug one up.
And it was right near my sewage, my cleanout, from where it's coming out from the bathrooms. That's where the septic tank was.
Sometimes you can tell too, is if your yard is starting to looks like a sinkhole starting to form. Because basically what's happening is the tank is collapsed or something, and the sand just starts filling it in.
But yeah, it's just
But yeah, you can get out there and
concrete guys
get
have
that
a lot of those.
concrete.
You
Yeah,
can
that's-
find them in Ace or Lowe's.
Let's look into that a little bit more.
Have a
All right.
TV line.
Just push it down.
Okay.
So,
Appreciate that.
agenda items for next meeting. Do we want to talk about the bike repair idea and the bike ride?
Sure, I'd love to present
Get some more dates and, okay. Those are the only two things I wrote. Does anybody else have anything, or did I miss something?
Fluoride's gonna
Quick
be on the next
question.
agenda.
The what?
Fluoride.
How long is that presentation going to be?
I'm not exactly sure, because the city hasn't prepared their half yet.
The city's preparing something?
Yes, they're preparing the other side of the argument, so that we have both sides.
I thought we were doing this whole thing to make
Move it.
say again?
We're doing this to push to remove it, but we want to make sure to present both sides to you.
I know, but I thought the Sustainability Board was taking a position to make a presentation that would help us recommend to the city that they take a position to remove fluoride from our municipal water source.
But for you to take a position, we want to make sure you have both sides.
And so the party that we are hopefully going to recommend takes a position to remove fluoride is going to be the party that presents why we shouldn't remove fluoride?
We would recommend it to the council. The
Where-
council wouldn't prepare that argument.
The council's not doing it, staff is doing it. Staff is preparing,
Oh, I thought you said the city.
well, the city staff,
Okay.
not the council.
So is that you, Nick, that's coming up with?
And Nick is, yes, involved in it.
So the lady that presented at the last meeting,
I'll work with waste treatment, water treatment.
because it sounds like she researched the
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
the other side.
I also have some of the resources that are scientists in the field that have direct experience with that chemical and how it is used
Yeah.
in the city water.
Yep.
So I'll be doing some thorough interviewing and some referencing from those conversations.
What position will you be taking?
Science.
No, I know, but, so it sounded like, from what Dylan said, there was a why to remove, and then the city's going to present why not to remove.
Well, we're making-
He said that, I'll say that the city position from my perspective is that we'll present the science.
We're making sure that you just have all the information, even though I'm going to be helping, Linda and everyone else present about the health impacts, the monetary benefits, all that, all the reasoning why we shouldn't be using it anymore. He's going to present all the evidence from World Health Organization, which again supports removing it, but he's going to essentially just give the whole side from all the different organizations, all the government, all the different scientists, and you'll be able to very clearly figure out which direction you want to go in.
So how long will your side of the presentation take?
I don't have a specific minute time.
Half hour?
I'm hoping.
10 minutes?
I'm hoping.
The reason I'm asking is it could be a long meeting, and why don't we maybe form our agenda around this and allow it to maybe consume the meeting? Because if there's going to be a presentation and then a counter presentation of
We could make it the
sorts,
first item, or,
it just seems like it might be a time-consuming and a pretty long meeting, potentially.
yeah.
I mean, I don't really see it being a huge thing, but if you think
Well,
it's going to be
so
a
I
huge
think,
thing,
I
We'll
think
make
that,
it the first agenda item, and then if we don't have time for the other.
it's all really straightforward, and it's not like you're going to be provided all this, and then you'll have resources to do further research and fact-check everything yourself. So it's not like we're going to be sitting here debating things endlessly.
Can we see some of the scientific data in advance?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if we can send out an email ahead of the meeting so that you guys can
I'll
look
try
it
to
over.
get my portion of the PowerPoint prepared promptly, so.
Or just the resources that you're referring to. I mean, you don't have to give us the PowerPoint presentation, but to go through
Yeah.
the resources you got, and to go through the resources you got, and then to go through the resources that the city has that's going to be talking about why not to do it.
And this is no one else's problem. I'm going to be out of the state next meeting due to a professional conference commitment I made before I got appointed. I would love to. I'm honestly curious about that. I don't know how I feel about it, and I would love to hear both sides. It's too bad. Are we going to be voting next week or next meeting? We'll be educating ourselves and then voting at a later date.
You know what, I'll send you all.
I think we should
Okay.
go next.
I'm hoping that by next meeting, you guys have a decision that you'd like to move forward with.
There's no way I'd be able to make a decision on something like this without having, at least having an opportunity to review the material before.
Yeah,
I'd like to
You would have,
offer, though,
it would have to be able to be reviewed before.
yeah, that's why I'd like to send it out.
Yeah.
Matt, please, if this is something you really need more time on, please look it up yourself. I really do strongly suggest you do your own research if this is something you have a problem with, because it's going to be presented, but if you think you need more time, please do research.
Well, I don't it doesn't seem like it's reasonable to assume that this body is going to be prepared.
You're only making a recommendation. It's not like you're going to be making an end
No,
decision of any sort.
And the recommendation could be interpreted by some as a super
And-
fantastic idea, and it could be interpreted by some to maybe not. And in there could be some pieces of information
I'd like to recommend
presented.
everyone right now decide, we're going to be sending out an email, but if you feel that you need to do more research, that you don't want to make a decision at the next meeting, please do more research, because we do
And
want
then
to
we'll
move this
table
forward.
it to the following meeting after that? Is that what you're
No, no, I'm
suggesting?
saying before the meeting. We have them from.
No, I
a month
understand
from
that, but
now.
suppose, what if we just can't fit it in because our personal lives are packed?
Then vote no next time if you really feel that comfortable.
I'm not so sure I understand the urgency of this.
It's not like it's that urgent, but
Sounds
you're
like it.
making a recommendation.
I know, but you're sitting here saying it's got to be done, like next
Like,
meeting.
We would like to move forward.
No, I get it. But it,
The reason why I think we should vote on it next meeting is because it was presented to us.
Yeah, there's
Previous meeting.
there's other areas in
And
the
I
county.
don't want to just keep sitting on this.
And it's
Board
not
needs to
only-
make a
it's not only
decision
that.
one or the other.
So there's other
It's just a
cities.
recommendation to city council, right? The
Yes,
city
correct.
council-
But the reason we need to move forward is
Make
because
their-
other cities are making decisions right now too. And I'm not trying to do this 4 months out, because if we come back 4 months out, where are we? Like, we need.
I find your behavior right now rather peculiar.
I find the fact that
Seems
you
very
can't do a little bit of
interesting.
research, Matt,
I've already
you've
done
known about this
research.
now for 2 months.
I've already done research. You're assuming
Great.
something right now.
So you have your position already set, I understand that.
My position
So-
is not set,
You've said you've done your research.
but my position isn't set. Maybe you got something I haven't seen.
Either way, Matt, all I'm saying is we would like to move forward with this very soon because there's other areas that need either support or our decision against it. Okay?
I get
It's
it.
very timely.
I get it. But this
Thank
is
you.
very interesting behavior.
Why? Because we can't sit around waiting for.
No,
3
you
months?
seem rather confrontational about this whole thing.
Because you're about to put off something that we either need to make a.
Seems like
statement
it
against
seems like a
or
pretty
for it.
big deal.
is
Pulling
a very
fluoride
big
out of water that's been,
Huge deal. You're getting
Been
poisoned by
consumed for-
industrial waste, just so you understand.
but I, see,
Not
that's,
even fluoride. It's not
that's,
even
that's,
actual
that's an
fluoride.
opinion. That right there is an opinion.
No,
We
it's
need to
not
save
opinion.
this.
It's science, just so you know.
That's an opinion.
No, it's not. Industrial waste, you can go look it up right now. You
That's
don't
an
have
opinion.
fluoride in your water. It's not real fluoride.
Well, maybe you got something that will be news.
Matt, please look it up.
I mean, we're gonna,
Oh,
I want to put this on the agenda for next
I know.
meeting, and we need to
That
make
was
a
your
decision
statement.
on it. If you know,
It's unbelievable.
I don't think we need a motion for that, but
No.
just go out and research it. It's not that
I'm
time-consuming.
certainly ready to research it.
Yeah.
I have done research. I'm very intrigued to see something that maybe I haven't come across yet. But I find it very interesting that there's this sense of urgency and actually a sense of pressure
Well,
to do something that,
I mean, I wanted to get it done. I mean, it's been a month. This will be 2 months, and then the city council, you know, it has to be sent to them. So, you know, we need to make decisions in a timely manner on these things and get them off the sustainability board's agenda and move on to something else. So,
Yeah, I think we need to do that with a lot of things we talk about, too.
Right.
well, and that's what a lot of these meetings turn out to be, a lot of sidebar conversation. And this, all of a sudden fluoride comes up and it's like, we got to do this. It's got to get done. And this is a pretty big deal. There's a lot of things at stake here. And there's opinion over here that thinks it's poison, and there's an opinion over here that thinks that this really hasn't been doing anything but ultimately greater good. And we all need to, as a body, consider those points and make a recommendation like you're saying.
yeah.
But it's possible we'll hear something, and I'm not trusting something because he said it, or she said it, or you said it,
Well, that's why,
or
you know, we're
that I
gonna-
just read it. I got to look into it a little bit deeper.
Definitely research it on your own.
I have.
And I'm going to do the same thing. Don't just trust what you're being presented, but we have a month to go out and think about this and
But it was supposed to happen already, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen because it's inconvenient for him, or it's inconvenient for the city, or something, but by God, you better do it next month.
Matt,
And you
this
better
is
be ready
kind
to make a
of-
decision.
This is standard protocol, like, if you look at the agenda, you know, it's discuss, take action on something. So we have presentations for things, we discuss and/or take action based on those items. I mean, if everybody felt after the presentation that we weren't ready to vote, I imagine we can make a motion and vote to not vote at that time. But, yeah, I mean, we follow the agenda, if that's what's on there.
I don't have a problem with following the agenda, making decisions and all that stuff. I just found the behavior out of Dylan very interesting
It's
in
because of
terms
the way
of
you're
your,
approaching this, Matt. You know, no, I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, we're counterproductive now. I agree with Jazzy about voting not to vote. If we don't
Yeah,
have an
if we don't
agreement at
feel
the end, we
comfortable
vote.
I've already said we don't need to vote if we don't need to
Some
vote.
of you could definitely make a motion to, you know, what you want to, but from now until the next meeting, let's keep moving forward on this, you know, look at it. Because at some point, you either got to research it on your own or trust what these guys are telling you.
Can I propose something which I think may be productive in this regard? I thought we were going to talk about this meeting, actually, and
So
I was
did I.
kind of waiting
So
for
did I.
to
We
receive.
just weren't prepared.
Yeah, no, I'm not fussing about that. I'm just saying, like, but I kind of, it got, I think if it's going to be on the agenda, for next month, which I wish I was going to be here, but I'm not, that maybe 2 weeks out, the printed materials can be sent to people. I think that's a reasonable time period. Is that a workable time frame from your perspective?
Probably.
Or 10 days, or just maybe pick a number, or 1 week. I mean, I don't, you know, something like that where there'll be time to review the written materials, whatever they're going to be, and then you can cross-reference. And that just is, as opposed to speaking about generalities, that's a specific decision we could make now to kind of provide notice, for lack of a better term.
I would say within 2 weeks at the most, but try to get it out sooner.
Yeah, I mean, I could, 2 weeks, 10
That
days,
would
10
give
days,
us 2 weeks.
1 week, whatever it
Before the
is.
next meeting to look it all over.
it seems reasonable.
And in the meantime, you know, while we're waiting on that, we'll go out and research it on our own.
And I mean, I honestly don't think 1 week would be unreasonable in terms of there being, I mean, you can do a lot of research in 1 week, so what is workable?
Well, how much,
We'll stick with 10 to 14.
Okay.
how about, instead of making a new date for something new, why don't we just send it out with our agenda that you sent out
About like the Friday before meeting.
Yeah.
Friday before, if that's not enough time?
No.
They're requesting longer, that's fine. This is totally manageable.
I think that's a,
So,
10 to, I had it written down, 10 to
Yeah.
14 days, don't worry.
Okay.
It's like
All
locked
right.
in.
so let's make that the number one,
It has
or
to
the
be
first agenda item, and then if we, you know,
I have all those.
if we spend the entire time doing that, then we'll
Then we'll
table
do
the rest of the
Sweet.
stuff. Okay, any public comment? Okay, so moving on to item number 8, adoption of the minutes. And according to Courtney, this is just an administrative thing, so we don't have to have a motion for that?
I mean, you can agree as consensus, or we can have a motion and call roll call.
Okay,
I mean,
all right. So does,
I heard what she said.
take consensus.
Beautiful.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's all we have. The next meeting is June 27th. Thank you guys for coming. Great idea. Glad you're involved in the community garden, and hopefully stay involved in our community. There's a lot of good things coming. All right, meeting adjourned.